Familiar stories lower cortisol, the stress hormone. They reduce anxiety. They create a sense of safety. It's why your shoulders drop the moment the theme song starts. Your body recognizes it before your mind does. This isn't entertainment, it's regulation. Here's the part most people miss. When you rewatch, you're not experiencing the same thing twice. The story stayed the same, you didn't. That's why it hits differently every time. You notice lines you ignored. You suddenly understand a character you hated before. You laugh at jokes that used to go over your head. You cry at scenes that never affected you until now. The story becomes a mirror, and each time you return, it reflects a different version of you. Watch a movie in your teens, it's about freedom. Watch it in your 20s, it's about identity. Watch it later, and suddenly it's about time, regret, love, and the quiet fear of losing what matters. Same film, different nervous system, different life, different meaning. That's not escapism, that's integration. Your brain is using familiar stories to process unfamiliar emotions. There's also something deeply social happening even when you're watching alone. The shows and movies you rewatch aren't just stories, they're time capsules. They carry the emotional fingerprints of who you were when you first watched them, the couch you sat on, the person next to you, the phase of life you were in before things got complicated. Sometimes you're not rewatching the show, you're revisiting a version of yourself that felt safer, lighter, or more hopeful. Sometimes you're reconnecting with someone who isn't around anymore, a parent who introduced you to that movie, a friend you used to quote it with, a relationship that didn't survive, even though the show did. Stories become emotional anchors. When life feels unstable, you return to the anchors. And let's talk about decision fatigue, because it deserves more respect than it gets. You've already made thousands of decisions today. What to say, what not to say, what to ignore, what to pretend doesn't bother you. Choosing a new show feels small, but it's one more decision with emotional risk. What if it's bad? What if it wastes your time? What if you invest and get disappointed? Rewatching removes all of that. Zero risk, maximum emotional return. Your brain isn't failing, it's optimizing. There's also a reason rewatching feels especially good when you're overwhelmed, anxious, or emotionally exhausted. Familiar stories allow your attention to soften. You don't have to stay alert. You don't have to brace for impact. You can let the story hold you instead of the other way around. That's why people rewatch at night, or during burnout, or after a hard conversation they're not ready to process yet. And here's something people rarely admit out loud. Rewatching isn't about avoiding life. It's about giving yourself enough emotional stability to face it again tomorrow.